1 minute ago, the world changed. A royal envelope, sealed in crimson wax, was delivered to the press in hushed terror. The contents? A devastating announcement concerning Princess Catherine. As the palace curtains closed and security tightened, whispers turned to sobs. What could have led to such an abrupt and tragic message? Was it illness, betrayal, or something even darker, hidden behind royal doors? Before we go deeper into what this really means for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. The announcement came not with a televised address, not with a pre-scheduled statement, but with a jarring, unexpected disruption to the nation's mourning. The Royal Communications Office released a short but chilling message confirming a tragic event impacting Her Royal Highness the Princess of Wales. No further explanation, no clarification, just an icy, heart-stopping line that echoed across every major broadcast network. News anchors were visibly shaken as embargoed copies were opened on live television. BBC froze its segment mid-sentence. ITV's presenter had to pause, unable to finish reading the statement. Within minutes, all regular programming was replaced with a somber royal banner. The national conversation shifted in a heartbeat from political chatter to frantic speculation. Google searches surged across the globe. Is Princess Catherine dead? What happened to Kate? Royal emergency live updates. For many, the timing of the statement felt far too calculated to be coincidence. Just days prior, Catherine had cancelled multiple high-profile engagements with vague reasoning. Now, in retrospect, those absences felt like harbingers' deliberate omissions, cloaked in palace discretion. The Prime Minister's office issued a near-instantaneous follow-up message, stating the government's support and prayers were with the royal family during this most delicate and painful moment. It was rare, unprecedented, even for Downing Street to react so swiftly. That, more than anything, told insiders that this wasn't just a personal crisis. It was institutional. Outside Kensington Palace, the atmosphere shifted from confusion to a quiet, trembling despair. Royal fans gathered, placing flowers, their eyes scanning social media for clarity that never came. Meanwhile, inside the palace gates, security doubled. Curtains were drawn in all upper windows. Helicopters were redirected. Communications went dark. Something had ruptured behind those walls. And yet, the statement offered no closure, only a haunting sense of something far greater unfolding in secrecy. Veteran royal correspondents, usually measured and analytical, were unable to contain their alarm. One called it the most disturbing royal communique in decades. Another, off-camera, was overheard saying, "They're hiding something big." With each passing minute, the silence from William, from Charles, from every senior royal only amplified the dread. It became clear this wasn't a rumor, this wasn't speculation. This was something deeply real and deeply devastating. But while the public grieved in confusion, royal insiders knew this wasn't a sudden event. This was the result of something long in motion. Something Catherine had been hiding with perfect grace. In the days leading to the royal statement, Catherine's radiant smile began to falter. Her posture stiffened, her words carefully measured. Was the truth already unraveling behind her eyes? Rewind the tapes and the signs are their cryptic gestures, unspoken pain, and final glances that now feel like silent goodbyes. The footage from her last official appearance at Windsor is now being replayed with a different lens, one not of admiration, but of concern. It was supposed to be a routine charity speech, the kind she'd done hundreds of times. But something was off. Mid-sentence, she paused. Her hand gripped the podium with barely concealed tension, her throat tightened, and her voice, usually so poised, wavered. Those in attendance brushed it off as emotion, but insiders now say her aides were already on alert. That moment of stillness, that seemingly innocent hesitation, was the beginning of a visible unraveling. Royal analysts have gone back through the footage, slowing it down frame by frame. A trembling left hand, a forced smile, eyes that glistened not from joy, but exhaustion. The physical signs were there. We simply didn't know how to read them. One photograph, previously overlooked, has now ignited a storm of interpretation. Catherine, captured alone in the private gardens behind St. George's Chapel, clutching the pendant gifted to her on her wedding day. Her head bowed, her eyes closed, as though bracing for something unspoken. The image, raw and untouched, wasn't published by official outlets. It wasn't meant to be seen. But it exists, and it speaks louder than any press release ever could. Then came the private charity dinner, where Catherine was reportedly escorted out early, unseen by the cameras. Staff whispered about a collapse behind closed doors. An eyewitness, a trusted palace worker, claims she was white as porcelain and barely able to stand without support. Still, the palace said nothing. Still, the world remained unaware. Cancellations began quietly. A children's hospital visit scrapped. A royal military handover postponed. Unforeseen circumstances became the new phrase of choice. But every time an engagement vanished from the calendar, anxiety grew behind the scenes. Those closest to Catherine were told to maintain composure, yet their silence became deafening. The weight of her absence could no longer be disguised as logistics. It was personal, it was haunting. And then, the note. Left at a nursery after her final visit, a small folded card pressed between picture books. It was addressed to no one, signed by no title, and written in Catherine's own delicate hand. Thank you for showing me joy when I needed it most. Look after each other. The message, sweet on the surface, has since been analysed as a veiled farewell. Royal watchers now call it the goodbye no one understood. That note is currently under review by palace officials, yet it's already taken on a life of its own in the public imagination, an echo of something final, something feared. But the sorrow etched in her last appearances paled in comparison to the chilling clues buried deep within royal corridors, clues only now beginning to emerge. Behind the locked doors of Clarence House lies a restricted archive. Rumoured for years, the Obsidian Key grants access to the royal family's most classified files. And now, whistleblowers see lame Catherine's name appears within it, next to a word that has shaken insiders to their core. For decades, the existence of the Obsidian Key was dismissed as speculation whispered among royal aides and institutional veterans. A code, a clearance level, a myth until now. According to sources embedded deep within the inner sanctum of royal operations, the Obsidian Key isn't just real. It's the single most protected access protocol in the monarchy. Used to lock away personal matters deemed too explosive for public eyes, it has buried everything from secret inheritances to the quiet disappearances of past aristocrats. And now it holds something even more chilling, the fate of Princess Catherine. The truth, they say, was never intended to reach the public. Her condition, deliberately flagged, intentionally silenced, was documented over a year ago. Staff members with high-level clearance allegedly witnessed her file being sealed, not for her protection, but for the Crown's preservation. It was not a flu, nor fatigue. The documents reportedly detail a rare genetic disorder, undiagnosed until late 2024, something dormant but rapidly advancing. There was fear, not just for her life, but for the lineage, for the image of invincibility the monarchy depends on. Catherine, presented to the world as grace under pressure, was suffering in silence. Even when treatment was proposed, she refused. Not out of recklessness, but conviction. Invasive procedures carried risks, sterility, physical transformation, and worst of all, exposure. For a woman conditioned to carry the nation's dreams on her shoulders, appearing weak wasn't an option. She chose dignity over desperation. But the decision isolated her, and within those stone walls, it sparked a quiet war. Sources claim Prince William only discovered the full extent of her diagnosis after demanding access to Clarence House records. He alleged Edley stormed a restricted wing after learning Catherine's file had been accessed by the Clarion Council without his knowledge. What he found broke him. Reports suggest he clashed violently with Charles, accusing his father of betrayal, of putting legacy above life. Charles, ever the tactician, reportedly defended the concealment under the terms of Appendix Windsor IV. a lesser-known royal doctrine that allows the concealment of compromising disclosures in times of national vulnerability. Catherine's condition, her projected image, and her proximity to the throne all fit the criteria. Her file, stamped and sealed in late autumn, remained buried until now. These documents, some bearing the unmistakable red ink of Clarion authority, may never see public light, but their contents have already begun to seep through cracks in the palace's silence. The obsidian key is no longer rumor, it is real, and it was used to bury the truth about the most beloved royal figure in generations. While the vault held silent truths, the emotional aftershocks were already rippling across the palace, shaking the very foundation of Catherine and William's unbreakable bond. They called it the moment the heir to the throne shattered. William, upon receiving Catherine's diagnosis, was seen walking barefoot across the Kensington lawn, sobbing uncontrollably. His silence since has not been royal dignity. It has been heartbreak beyond words. The news wasn't delivered in a briefing room or slipped discreetly in a folder. It came during what was supposed to be a routine security meeting, a document misfiled, a name highlighted, a truth too enormous to hide anymore. As William read the words, his hand reportedly froze mid-air. A single phrase confirmed what he had feared but never spoken aloud: terminal progression. The stillness shattered seconds later. Private staff stationed nearby described a haunting. G scream echoing through the corridor, one word over and over: no. Moments later, a crashing sound rang out. A historic hallway mirror, a family heirloom from Queen Mary's era, had been punched so violently that shards were still being found hours later. He didn't return to that meeting. He didn't speak to anyone. For over 14 hours, Prince William disappeared. His security detail was dismissed. He turned off his phone. The future King of England simply vanished. Later that night, an aide located him near the Serpentine in Hyde Park, sitting alone, shoeless, still in his tailored suit. The aide, who has since resigned, leaked a private note scribbled in the prince's hand. It read, "She hid it from me. She carried it alone. I was never strong enough to ask what her silence meant. The royal family refused to comment, but those words now circulate as proof that William's collapse was not just emotional, it was spiritual. A man raised in stoicism, undone by the one woman who taught him how to love without armor. When he finally returned to Kensington, he said nothing to the staff. He walked directly to the nursery wing, where his children were asleep. His first words to George were whispered, but caught by a nearby monitor. "Mummy is the bravest person in the world," he said, his voice trembling. "And everything she did to protect us." George asked no questions. He simply hugged his father tightly and didn't let go. In the days that followed, William began to recede from public view. His engagements were handed over to Edward and Anne. Foreign diplomats were informed that all direct contact with the Prince of Wales would be paused until further notice. The move stunned insiders, sparking hushed conversations of whether William was contemplating stepping down permanently. Behind closed doors, however, Catherine had left him with one clear request. A sentence writ, 10 in her familiar handwriting, tucked into the drawer where she kept her grandmother's rosary. "Don't let them forget who I was before this," she wrote. "Not before the diagnosis, not before the silence, but before the palace swallowed her voice in the name of image and duty." That sentence became William's anchor, the force that pulled him back from complete withdrawal. He began visiting her hospital suite not as a prince, but as a husband with no protocol, no press, and no titles. Just a man fighting to preserve the truth of the woman he loved. But while William mourned privately, the public would soon learn the full extent of the crown's inner war, over whether to reveal the truth or bury it forever. What happens when power trumps compassion? In the shadows of a late-night Clarion Council meeting, Queen Camilla is said to have demanded silence. "If this gets out, it changes everything," she warned. But her attempt to protect the crown may have cost it the heart of the monarchy. In the royal system, optics are everything, and Camilla knew it. Her veto came not from ignorance, but from a brutal calculation. She argued that publicizing Catherine's condition would risk undermining the monarchy's image of resilience and unity. During a confidential session of the Clarion Council, as aides debated how to proceed, Camilla reportedly delivered her chilling verdict: no public statement, Not now, not ever. We cannot let this become her legacy. Those present say her tone was cold, absolute. She called it a passing concern, a phrase that now haunts the very halls she tried to protect. Dismissing what doctors had confirmed, she insisted that anything released would invite scrutiny not just toward Catherine, but toward Charles's reign. In that moment, duty was twisted. Compassion was drowned beneath the weight of legacy management. It wasn't just Catherine's condition she sued. To hide it was control over who shaped the narrative. Camilla's private team began working behind the scenes, blocking Catherine's access to planned appearances, quietly cancelling upcoming engagements. Speeches were stripped from the agenda. Notes of sympathy written for children's charities were intercepted and never sent. Catherine was, effectively, muted, confined to a ceremonial silence as her body continued its quiet rebellion. The palace's public front remained composed, but within its chambers, fury brewed. Princess Anne, known for her stern loyalty and steel backbone, reached her breaking point. At the next Clarion Council session, she confronted Camilla directly. According to a leaked aid memo, Anne stood and declared, "If we bury her story, we bury her humanity. Is that what we've become?" The room fell silent. Tensions exploded. Anne demanded that Camilla retract the veto and allow a prepared public health statement to proceed. Camilla refused. Anne then threatened to resign from the council entirely, a move that would have sent shockwaves through the institution and raised immediate questions in Parliament. That threat was never acted upon, but it marked the first visible fracture between the two senior royal women. As the world prayed for clarity, Camilla remained focused not on Catherine, but on containment. Some insiders now accuse her of prioritizing Charles's already fragile public standing over the urgent reality of Catherine's failing health. She feared that sympathy for Catherine might eclipse reverence for the king. In protecting the crown's appearance, Camilla had inadvertently revealed its most glaring weakness, a fear of truth. Her veto may have temporarily protected a facade, but the cost was irreversible. In choosing silence, she allowed the suffering to fester and made herself a villain in the eyes of many within the palace walls. As inter. Now divisions deepened. Another figure emerged from the shadows determined to do what no one else dared, tell the world everything. One encrypted message, 42 seconds of trembling confession. And the voice? Princess Beatrice. With one leak, she dismantled the silence and forced the monarchy to face a storm it couldn't control. It began with an anonymous tip to a European news outlet, an unverified audio file sent through a secure server, encrypted with a 6-digit key that only one person in the palace would know. When the file was decrypted, the voice that emerged was unmistakable, calm, strained, but undeniably royal. "This isn't about duty anymore," Beatrice began. "It's about truth, and I can't keep lying for them." Her words hit like a thunderclap across the United Kingdom. In under a minute, she tore open the very fabric of silence that had cloaked Catherine's condition. The audio was raw. She detailed Catherine's suffering in terms no spokesperson dared use: exhaustion, isolation, suppressed treatment, and above all, the ruthless insistence that she smile for cameras while breaking inside. "She's tired," Beatrice whispered. "Not of fighting, but of hiding." In the recording, Beatrice didn't hold back. She named Camilla directly, accusing her of issuing a protocol gag and blocking the truth from reaching even extended members of the family. "We are told to preserve the throne. But how do you preserve something that eats its own?" The silence that had been carefully curated by the palace ruptured in an instant. "Pray harder than ever before," she urged the public, "because she doesn't have long. But she has the truth, and they can't take that from her." Those final lines weren't poetic. They were a quiet scream for justice. The fallout was immediate. Royal communications descended into chaos. For the first time in decades, the press office was instructed to issue a partial confirmation within an hour of a leak. They acknowledged the unauthorized dissemination of sensitive content and added only that the family was managing a private matter with the utmost care. But the damage was done. The floodgates opened. #CatherineTruth began trending globally within minutes. Thousands took to the streets with candles and placards. Murals appeared overnight. Every media outlet, previously muzzled by royal protocol, now had a justification to dig deeper. The world no longer speculated, it demanded answers. In the palace, the betrayal sparked fury. Camilla allegedly demanded Beatrice be stripped of titles and removed from all public duties. But Charles, reportedly blindsided and emotionally conflicted, refused to act immediately. Privately, insiders say he was deeply shaken by the recording, not just by its content, but by Beatrice's voice, filled with grief and defiance. It was the sound of a royal no longer willing to obey in silence. The monarchy had lost control of its own story. Perhaps that was always inevitable. The facade had cracked. The truth had found its voice in the most unexpected place, not through protocol, not through press releases, but through family. Now, with the world watching and the palace unable to retreat, Catherine herself made a decision that no one anticipated, but everyone felt end in lavender ink and sealed with her wedding ring. A letter meant for her children, discovered by accident and now authenticated by the palace. It's not just a farewell, it's a final promise from a mother, a princess, and a woman who never stopped protecting everyone but herself. Tea was found in a velvet pouch, hidden beneath a stack of storybooks inside Princess Charlotte's nursery chest. Not by staff, but by accident, uncovered during a quiet moment shared between Charlotte and her nanny. Folded neatly and delicately, wrapped in silk, the handwriting was unmistakable, and the opening line, barely legible through dried tears, would change everything. My darlings, if you are reading this, know I loved you every breath I had. The letter was never meant to be public. It wasn't part of a palace release or carefully scripted royal memoir. It was raw, personal, unsanitized. Yet the moment it was leaked, it shattered the final barrier between the public's love and the monarchy's tightly guarded truth. In the pages that followed, Catherine poured out the very soul she had been forced to conceal. She described the loneliness of pretending to be invincible, the pressure of holding together a kingdom's hope while quietly falling apart. I smiled through pain, not because I was told to, but because you were watching, she wrote, addressing her children. And I wanted you to see courage, even when I couldn't feel it. She thanked William with rare vulnerability. You stood even when I could not. And in your eyes I remembered who I was before the silence. The words were more than love. They were a declaration of the price she paid to remain the image the world needed, while losing pieces of herself behind palace gates. To Charlotte she wrote, You are my mirror, the fire and softness of my heart. Speak only when it's time, and when it's time, speak loudly. To George she offered the burden and the blessing of legacy. You are my light, the next chapter of a line steeped in silence. Change that, make your own mark. Be brave enough to be gentle. It wasn't political. It wasn't protocol. It was maternal, authentic, devastating. The final paragraph hit with the force of a quiet revolution. Tell the truth, even if it hurts the throne. That's what I did. And in the end, that truth is what will protect you more than any title ever could. Once leaked online, the palace had no choice but to confirm its authenticity. Though a redacted version was released to the press, the full letter had already gone viral. Millions read it, millions cried. And for the first time in royal history, a goodbye was not wrapped in ceremonial grief. It was exposed, vulnerable, real. Catherine's words weren't crafted for optics. They were carved out of a heart that had known too much sorrow, too much secrecy, and too little freedom. As the letter spread across the globe, another ripple surged through the monarchy. King Charles was about to do the unthinkable. In a rare late-night broadcast, King Charles appeared visibly aged. No crown, no throne, just a father-in-law mourning a daughter he never truly knew until it was too late. And then, with trembling hands, he signed the Royal Legacy Trust into permanent law. In Catherine's name. The speech wasn't planned. It wasn't rehearsed. It came after hours of pressure from advisors, emotional appeals from William, and a nation that had stopped asking questions and started demanding accountability. Charles, pale and subdued, looked directly into the camera. There were no royal emblems behind him, no red carpet, no ceremonial backdrop, just the weight of grief and a truth too large to contain. "We failed her," he began, "not as royals, as people." In that moment, centuries of silence fractured. He announced that all veto rights previously held by senior royals regarding health disclosures, especially those invoked under Appendix Windsor IV, were abolished. No more concealments, no more political silence. From this point forward, the public had a right to know. The palace would no longer protect its image at the cost of its people. But Charles didn't stop there. He unveiled a new initiative, one Catherine herself had designed before her condition became critical. The Catherine Windsor Fund would direct royal endowments toward research in maternal health, autoimmune disorders, and rare silent diseases, those illnesses that erode lives quietly, just as they had done to her. The fund wasn't symbolic. It came backed by an initial grant of £200 million, redirected from royal land revenues and private estate reserves. The move stunned economists, but the nation barely blinked. They were already on their feet, lighting candles, kneeling outside palaces, singing hymns. Across London, across Birmingham, Manchester, Cardiff vigils erupted. And for the first time, many who had once opposed the monarchy knelt with folded hands for Catherine, the woman who had bridged the gap between duty and truth. Then came the moment that rewrote the palace's power map. In a single paragraph buried deep in the decree, Charles announced that Princess Anne would be elevated to co-head of the Clarion Council, stripping Camilla of her unilateral authority. It wasn't phrased as punishment, but everyone knew it was. Charles thanked Anne for her unshakable integrity and her commitment to the soul of this institution. And with that, the balance shifted, quietly, permanently. Camilla's influence, once unchecked, was now politically diminished. The public read between every line. The king had drawn a line in the sand, not for tradition, but for legacy. Catherine's legacy. In closing, Charles did what the monarchy has always feared. He spoke without restraint. "Catherine Elizabeth Middleton Windsor," he said slowly, "will forever be remembered not only as the Princess of Wales, but as the people's Princess of Truth." It was a posthumous title, crafted not by committee, but by a man who had finally seen what the world had always known. And as the camera faded to black, the silence that followed was not emptiness. It was reverence. But as the nation mourned and the monarchy restructured, a fee. Now, unexpected act sent tremors through the royal order, one that came not from the palace, but from Catherine herself. Just hours after the decree, a private video uploaded to an encrypted server went live. It was Catherine, alone, speaking to the camera. No makeup, no titles, no protection. Just truth, raw and uncensored words that now echo through history like a final command. No one knows how it was uploaded. No official signature, no palace watermark, no coordinated press release. But the voice, the cadence, the weight of every word, there was no doubt it was her. The message was recorded weeks earlier in one of the palace nursery rooms, a place that had once echoed with her children's laughter. The same space where she had taught George how to read his first book, where Charlotte had whispered secrets into her lap. Now it became her final stage, a mother's sanctuary transformed into the only place safe enough to speak freely. The camera was steady, the frames simple, but her words hit with the force of history. "I know this isn't how you expected to see me," she began, her voice quiet but clear. "But this isn't about expectation, it's about truth, and I can't leave without saying what they never allowed me to." She spoke of love, not just the romantic kind, but the kind that binds nations, holds families together, and dares to challenge centuries-old silence. "There has been a quiet war behind these palace walls," she said. "Not of swords or scandal, but of silence. And I chose to break it." She explained her decision not to pursue prolonged treatment, not out of weakness, but strength. "I didn't want to fade quietly. I wanted to be heard. Not as a princess, not as a patient, but as a woman who still had something to say." The video was more than a farewell, it was a manifesto. She urged her audience to reimagine what it means to be royal, to be loyal, to be brave. "See, whose truth," she said, "even when it breaks tradition, especially then." Every sentence carried decades of restraint, shattered in a few syllables. She didn't blame, she didn't accuse, she simply exposed gently, powerfully, permanently. She thanked the people for their love. She thanked the staff who helped her stay upright when her body wanted to collapse. And to William, she spoke directly, "You gave me peace when I had none, and I will carry your love beyond this life." As the video neared its final seconds, Catherine smiled. It was not the royal smile honed by media training. It was the smile of a woman who had carried the weight of a kingdom and still found the strength to let it go. "Don't cry for me," she said. "Finish what I started." She blew a kiss toward the camera. The screen faded to black, no music, no credits, just silence deafening and eternal. Within an hour, it became the most viewed royal clip in internet history. World leaders reposted it. Schools played it. Families watched in awe. The monarchy's narrative had been rewritten not by decree, but by a dying woman who refused to disappear. This wasn't just a tragic announcement. It was a reckoning, a redefinition of what royalty truly means. And Catherine, silent no more, became its voice, forever. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in next one.